So then I want to talk a little bit about the donation process. So it's after the screening, you wait and you get results, and then you actually start the stim meds and everything like that. So you get this big box of medications delivered to you, and then with all these instructions. So just kind of walk us through, let's say someone was considering doing this. Um, how, what advice would you give them, or how would you describe the process to them about putting all these meds together and putting the, injections together, and then making these appointments and all of that?
Yeah, I would definitely say in terms of the medication, I live in a doorman building, and when that giant box arrived,
Mhm.
and it says SB refrigerated immediately, I went down and retrieved it so that I could unpack it
By
in
the
my
way, that's
door.
like thousands of dollars worth of medication.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely looks that way too. His
Right.
box. And he said, what is in this giant box? This be refrigerated. I said, oh, it's all medicine. And he goes, wow, I hope you're okay. Like, the size of the box. I was like, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. No worries. So,
Mhm.
but it's a large box. On the inside of it, is a little bit of instructions, and everything is very well labeled. One thing that is great is you are able to get a call from a nurse who will help you unpack the box, identify each medication, make sure that you have enough of each. If there's something that needs to be mixed or might be refilled separately, they'll let the date on which you might be receiving that, so that you can look out for it. And what was really helpful for me too was also access to videos that showed instructions on taking the medications. I've never personally had to take any kind of medicine, that was very involved, thankfully. So it was all there was a big learning curve for me in terms of making sure everything was ready. And just with my little bit of a type A personality, I want to get everything right. I want to get everything right
Mhm.
the first time. So I, not only had everyone at Basking Ridge go over the medications with me, I also, spoke to a nurse on the phone, made sure that I watched the videos multiple times. I had someone help me later down the road with injections just because of a little bit of my needle squeamishness. And I made sure that he watched the videos as well. So everyone was well prepared. So it can be intimidating to receive a gigantic, as you said, for thousands of dollars
Mhm.
box of medication to your door, and be responsible for it, especially because you want to make sure that you're doing right by the recipient or the recipients in doing everything
Yeah.
correctly in a timely
Yeah.
manner.
It's a lot of
Um,
responsibility once you get all that. Now let me, the injections didn't hurt, right?
no, the injections didn't hurt. The first time that I donated, they certainly didn't hurt. The second time, I used a different medication that burned a little bit,
Mhm.
but it was only upon injection, so just for whatever
Right.
the length of time that is. But afterwards, I felt fine. A little bit tired, especially
Yeah.
because I'd
Toward
wait
the
to do
end.
it late at night and
Yeah.
the adrenaline of doing it. But no, I wasn't in any sort of pain from them.
And you're only on the injections for about 12 days, right? So
Yeah.
about 12
Mhm.
days. And so you would have to go to make monitoring appointments, right? So
Yes.
yeah, so that's really the biggest nuisance, because when I was a donor too, it's like getting your took us to the clinic at like 7 o'clock, because the reason they do all the monitoring very early is so they get the results the same day. So
Mhm.
they do all the blood tests, and they'll give you a sonogram early in the morning, and then you can go home. Now you had to go out to Basking Ridge. Now they're much better at like having you go to a satellite location in New York. And what was
Yeah.
that like when you showed up to get monitored? Was that easy? Um,
Mm-hmm. There, as you said, the first time that I donated, I believe I did all but one or two monitoring mornings at Basking Ridge. So those
yeah,
were very, very, very early mornings for
yeah.
me, just to make sure that I was out there
Hmm.
by 6 o'clock, if not 7 o'clock. Very, very early. So always a little sleepy. It's not my getting, my blood drawn is not my favorite way to start my early morning, but it's okay. I know that it's temporary.
And we
So
got you
yeah,
car service, right?
yeah,
So
and the
you
car
can,
service, very comfortable,
yeah,
very grateful for that. I could
yeah.
kind of sleep on the way there, sleep on the way back.
Hmm.
But the second time I donated, I did the majority of my donating in the New York office.
Right.
So I, again, could sleep in a little bit later, get on the subway or take a car, because all that's reimbursable, which is fantastic.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, you report to monitoring. You have to give a blood sample, and make sure that you get an ultrasound.
Right.
Yeah, and so those two things happen very quickly. There's a lot of other people in the waiting room for morning monitoring.
Right.
So they really are trying to, especially for the sake of getting same day, get everyone in pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But so it is a very early appointment, but it is a pretty brief appointment.
Yeah. And you get it out of the way, and then you have the whole day ahead of you. Now, what's happening there is that they're measuring the hormone levels in your blood, and they're taking a look at your ovaries on the sonogram screen to see how many follicles you're making. So in this way, they can adjust the medication throughout the course to make sure that you're on the right amount of medication. And this is what is required for someone who's doing IVF or a donor, or even someone who's freezing their eggs, is that while they're on the course of medication, they have to be monitored. And then you'll get contacted at the end of the day, once those results are in, and say, okay, so tomorrow morning, you take this and this and this, and it's all based on the morning monitoring. And then it just goes on like that until the retrieval. So usually about maybe 6 monitoring appointments over the period of 12 days, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That
Yeah.
sounds about right. And it is fun in the ultrasound to see the ovaries every morning.
I
how
love it.
everything's
Yeah. When I
progressing,
did
and
that,
always
I
look
love to
wild.
look of looking at the dots, and they're measuring them with these little
Different.
points and stuff, and that's cool.